Good evening from a very chilly and sad Kansas City today. This is AV Renee KC. You are listening to and watching the AV Life.
Good evening from Los Angeles. This is Murphy Daly at Written by Murphy. I'm the AV veteran, writer of things, and joining you all for the AV Life.
James King here. I guess I got to introduce myself because unlike our guests, I'm not well known, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life.
I was just joking about that, James. And I'm your host, Tim Van Wert from Rutgers University, from HETMA, from Higher Ed AV. And like I said, I'm your host, and you are watching and listening to the AV Life. All right. Sorry, it was a little bit of a weird start for me as we were starting to record. So, AI is infiltrating everything here, and it just updated on my Zoom here that I now have the feature to record with the AI companion, which I didn't know I was going to be getting. So it was like, wait a minute, what's this third option? There's not 3 buttons. I'm like, why are there 3 buttons? So the ADHD brain of mine was like, wait a minute, this isn't normal. So welcome. This is our, and yes, it's after Thanksgiving. We are now we are into the Christmas season, but we are doing our Thanksgiving episode today because as we record, it's before Thanksgiving. So this is our annual Thankful for AV episode, and we have 4 incredible guests with us tonight, and we're just gonna roll right into it. And introduce them and get them to introduce themselves. And because there's just so much to talk about tonight. So first, I'm just gonna work my way down on how I have people laid out on my screen here. In my top left square, coming at us from across the pond, Iffat Chaudhry. How are you tonight or this morning?
I'm fresh as a daisy, Tim, and absolutely delighted to be on the AV Live at 1:48 a.m. Thank you for having me.
Well, we are so grateful to have you here. You are in a very small bundle
Elite.
of people.
The word is elite that you're looking for.
Yes, thank you. That's the elite group of folks that have joined us from your neck of the woods during a normal recording time. So there was just a little bit of history before we move on. There was actually a special AV Life AV Jam crossover episode that was done many years ago, but I remember sitting in my office at Rutgers with Corey and the AV Jam crew at I think it was 8:30 or 9:30 in the morning Eastern time, because I think the crew was drinking beers in the office or something like that, and me and Corey are sitting there with our coffee, it's we're just.
And that episode is still on the same channel as my What If podcast. So if you feel like a trip down memory lane, it's still there.
I'm gonna have to go back and check that, because that's been a while. Yeah, so I know a lot of, which actually that's nice to know, because a lot of the stuff that Corey has done has kind of disappeared into the vapors because of
I was keen to keep the AV Jam stuff gelled with mine, so
awesome,
because that was its natural journey. So
awesome.
Never forget your roots, right?
Yes, yes, exactly. So, and we definitely don't here. So, just introduce yourself to the listening audience, just so that way, for those who haven't had the pleasure of meeting you yet.
In the AV world, I work for an integrator based in the UK called Involve Visual Collaboration. A lot of what we do is actually less hardware and more solutions based, but we still fall under that bracket of integrator. But I also have a little podcast and do quite a lot of speaking around discrimination across our industry, both sides of the pond. I volunteer quite a bit for Avixa, so I'm out there banging my drum, basically, for anyone who will listen.
And we all listen in, and we're glad you're banging that drum. So keep doing that.
trying.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us. Go moving along to a fellow East Coaster. So Jen Weaver, thank you for keeping the balance here, because the balance seems to always shift to the other coast. So
Thank it. No. And I was sitting on the couch watching a movie with my son, and I went, "Oh my gosh, I have to go." He's like, "What are you doing?" I said, "I have to go record a podcast." He says, "Oh, Mom, you're weird. This late, you're weird."
sorry, we're the weird ones that record it late at
And
night.
and he
I
just
get told
doesn't
I'm
quite.
weird by my kids daily. So
Yeah, he's 13, almost 14. He's at the age where everything I do is irritating, annoying, and weird to him. So it's really fun. So I
Well,
am so excited to be here. Thank you.
yeah, we're very glad you could join us. Please introduce yourself to our listening audience as well.
So I am Jennifer Weaver. I work for Starin. We are a distributor here in the US. Our parent company is actually Midwich, that Iffat is very familiar with over there. And I am our business development manager for education. So I focus on higher ed, work with HETMA, I work with ETC, I work with all of you, and part of the Avixo Women's Council, and excited to be here.
And Higher Ed AV Award winner as
I
well.
I am. That one I usually leave, that I get, I still get a little blushed and about that one. But yeah, that was awesome. And so I am excited about that still. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, I had to remind you of that, because
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I know. Joe likes to remind me of that one too. I don't always throw that one out there, but yes.
I
All
encourage
right.
you
Well,
to
thanks.
talk about it because, as you yourself say it, other people who aspire to achieve this say, "Oh, that's a real person. I'm a real person.
Mhm.
Maybe
Mhm.
one day I too can do that."
Right?
So
Yeah.
it's not just about you being like, "Ooh," it's about
I know.
what it is for other people.
And
So
Exactly.
before you know it, we're going to have nominations open for the 2024 awards. So
I
this is,
know.
yeah.
I
Go ahead,
know.
James.
so
Jennifer, you should
Noreen,
own it. Sorry.
exactly what Tammy said, because as a couple episodes ago when we had Noreen on, and she was saying how she was always nominated for awards, and she's like humble, and she's like, no, I don't deserve it. And her boss is like, no, you do, to put yourself out there so others can see you and know they can achieve that as well.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah, and it was completely shocking, honestly, because it's just something, as we talk about what we're thankful for, it was just something that I do because I love the higher ed community. So to me, it's not a job, it's not work, it's something I love, and to work with the higher ed community is just amazing. So it's still, I don't look at it as like the big thing. It's what I do.
It's the
just
cherry
who
on
I
top.
am.
Yeah, that award.
Yes, it is. It's the cherry on the top. Definitely. Definitely.
Very cool. Yes, and we are very much proud of what you've done for our vertical, and that
Thank
definitely
you.
shows. So
Thank you.
we're very happy to have you in our little community.
Awesome. And I'm thankful to be here.
All right, and moving on to so this gentleman that's joining us here tonight, you've heard his voice many a time here on the AV Life over the years. Also, if you were paying attention on Twitter, called out another old AV Life member as well. Kaleo Lee, how are you, Kaleo?
I'm good. One of my favorite things to do. I mean, as you saw my kid, he couldn't help you. We love this show. My oldest couldn't help himself. He heard that we were doing this podcast. He was like, "That's the one we used to do when we used to live in California." I'm like, yes. And so he couldn't wait to jump on.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's fun, and that's no problem. And it was when you tagged Joe Whitaker in that post, I was like, I haven't even like thought about Joe in like so long too, like, and those are going back to like some of the AV Roadhouse and AV Life, and those old episodes. So that was really definitely a throwback in that respect. Kaleo, introduce you have history here, but for those who may not know, introduce yourself out there, please.
Yeah, for sure. Kaleo Lee. I had the privilege of being an AV integrator. And then my wife decided to go back to active duty. So I made my way over to the manufacturing world, got to do the hardware stuff, loved it. And then she moved again, or we moved again. And so now I get to enjoy the new adventure of software as a service at Corbett. So it's been fun. Yeah, I love
Cool.
the AV world. Anything I can do to make sure I stay in this industry. That's basically my goal in life.
Awesome. That's definitely a good goal to have. So, all right. And last but certainly not least, Tammy, I was gonna say you're definitely one of our all of our guests are our favorites, but but you always come in at the pivotal episodes, I think, and so
Yep.
we're glad to have you back.
Thank you. Yeah, it's great to be back. Should I
So
do
Tammy,
a little
yeah.
introduction?
Please.
Okay, well, my full-time gig is at QSIS, which is a great place to be right now. And then my other full-time job is the chair to the Avixa Women's Council.
All right.
Anything more?
I think you
so
just
much
put it
more.
into a nutshell right there.
I love sunsets and long walks on the beach and pina coladas.
Pina coladas.
I didn't get a chance to do that at AV Roki this year because I didn't make it out there to go do that with everybody. So I have to
You missed
table
a treat.
that. I'll have to table that for Vegas.
You missed a treat.
Oh
Yeah.
Yeah, I missed it this year too.
They were amazing.
There
Of course they were.
So kind right now.
There are some videos I've had to get injunctions against.
Yeah. It was
All
fun.
Well, we'll come back around to
And-
that. Just a quick moment. Oh.
This is actually from karaoke this year.
Oh, nice.
Oh, wow. Cool.
That's
So-
cool.
That's my
Souvenir.
that one's full of something.
Mhm.
I don't know what it was full
We
of,
don't know what was in it. They're just
Uh-oh.
but yeah, it's not now. It's very clean. It made the journey home. So
That's awesome.
All right. Well, we're glad that survived as well. That's a really cool little piece. Murphy, let's do a PM minute while we still got you. And
Yeah.
the episode's already taken on a life of its own.
No.
We
We're
just
so
got through
excited to have everybody
introductions.
here. So this is the Thankful for AV episode. If you hadn't mentioned it already, I don't recall. We've been talking about a lot. And when Thanksgiving is a time we sit down and be thankful, we think, okay, there's a lot of things happening, but we're going to focus on the things that I try to focus on the things I'm grateful for. And it's really a lot of benefit to do that. But when it comes to projects, yes, absolutely stay positive. It's something that I try to strive for, but there is a time when positivity is not what we're aiming for. I'm talking about the lessons learned. When you do a project, it is a very valuable thing. Tie it off with a bow by getting together and having that lessons learned. And the lessons learned can definitely be a time to high five one another. But if you get together and talk about how the project went and high five each other and just say, we're awesome, we're great, we're amazing, that's not what it's for. It's the opposite of being thankful. It's like, okay, even if everything was so 100% perfect, what could we do to make it better? That's what the lessons learned are for. And as many of you have experienced, a lot of projects don't go perfect. So it's the opportunity for everybody to get together and say, in a safe place, what could we do better? How can we work together better? How can we be better prepared to get the best experience of projects going forward? And be honest with each other. They're like, okay, well, if this had happened, if somebody had arranged this, if somebody had ordered this, if we hadn't done this, or if this had happened, there are lots of things that go right, and there's always a few things that go wrong. And that's what that moment in the project is for. It's the shadow side of sitting around and being thankful. It's sitting around going, what can we do to self-assess and see what we could do better? And that really helps.
No, yeah. And I will say, I think that's the hardest part sometimes of the project. And it's easy to say, oh, we did this great, we did that great. It's like, but that's the hardest part, to say, this is where we failed, and to like really identify those things.
It takes a safe space. You have to trust each other.
And depending on the team, there might be trust issues, or which you would hope within your own team that you would be able to trust each other, but that may not also not necessarily be the case.
It's not a natural place to be, is it? Because everybody wants to look good and wants to be liked and wants to be popular, and that's at the core for most humans in most settings. So you don't want to be the one who's, even if it's not you at the root of it, you don't want to be the one that's pointing it out necessarily. It's not a natural position to take. It actually takes a bit of practice, I think.
Yeah,
it does.
That's yeah.
I think Ryan Gray put a poll out on Twitter this week that said, is it better to be right or efficient?
Or effective. Yeah.
Or
Effective. That was it.
Well, we all want to be right.
To you? Yeah. Is it more important to you to be? Yeah, absolutely.
Right. We all.
Well, I know personally, I tend to be wrong, so I'd rather be effective. Just ask my wife.
Consistently wrong. That's effective.
I'd rather, I think part of me is like, just kind of spinning off of that. Like, I feel like I'd rather be effective at what I'm doing. Like, at least in a positive way.
Yeah.
Effective
I know
isn't
I don't
always. Yeah, effective doesn't always mean right, which is fine.
I'm
But
thankful.
Is it effective if it's not right?
Yeah, like, wait a minute, go on about that a little more.
You can be effective even if it's not right. You could other things can
something.
Yeah, and other things could come out of what you're doing. You're going to learn something, and you effectively could be wrong.
Now, theoretically,
Well, see, I mean, it has to do with the definition of what is right and what is wrong.
Yep. Yeah. I was just saying, just playing devil advocate, you could be effective at being evil.
Oh,
I was gonna say, that's kind of where I was
Yeah.
going too. Is that that's why I said, like, with a I like to be effectively positive, like, as opposed, because yes, you could be successful at what you're doing and being effective at bringing the team backwards. So,
I'm effectively annoying to my son. So.
Well, I think it's government projects come to mind where you could effectively meet the spec, but not have the actual result that was really intended. So you can be effective, meet the requirements, but still make everybody completely unhappy. So
that sounds like an RFP.
Like I said,
We need a change order.
Which, if I did the design and somebody else won the RFP, I'm glad that unhappiness is happening. But it's
right. Exactly.
Speaking of a well, I'm going to have to effectively bow out and let you guys continue this without me because I have an engagement. But I'm so glad to be here, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving, Murphy.
Happy
and we are thankful.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Take care, Murphy.
For her health. That's what we're thankful.
Yes, definitely thankful for that. Yes. All right. Well, then in that light, let's move into that part. I think it's been something about this last year that I don't know, maybe I'm just getting older and more sentimental in my age, but yeah, there are more things to be thankful for. And I know we went through the whole COVID, we all, if we caught it or if we didn't, We're thankful for those things. But I think this last year has been definitely more of a soul searching year, I feel like. So I think there's so I'm curious, what are we thankful for this year? And so I'm leaving it open to the group for whoever wants to kick us off. No pressure.
So
Well,
I'll start with somebody who I am really thankful for, and that's Christopher Neto. Because in fact, before we went into lockdown, just that whole AV in the AM community, and we would have a happy hour every fourth week, I think, at that time. And then he stepped it up for everyone during COVID. The friendships that I personally have made since then are still going strong today, and are probably, including him. I mean, we text daily. He must get really irritated with my daily rant of like, oh my God, this has happened now. But he's just solid, absolutely solid, always has time for everybody, and just is head and shoulders above anyone in our industry at pulling people together and getting that sense of community. There is nobody that touches him. And everybody who's doing the not Neto copy, sorry, none of you looks remotely like the not Neto and Neto. He is the original and will always be.
I can tell Renee's probably going to get hers.
Renee's
I've got mine sitting
searching
above
for
me.
little Renee. I'm surprised. Where's Big
I'm
Weave?
like, she's right here.
Oh,
There.
here. Yeah. Well, now if you now wait. Now we have, I said, as you're talking about Chris. Yeah, I agree with you on that. It was
100%.
he's amazing. And
I can't say
too,
that I'm grateful for this community without attributing that to him.
exactly. He
Because he's pulled it together, because everybody gets lazy, everybody has good intentions to keep in touch and everything. He held all those threads together and forced us to keep in touch, which was amazing.
How he
He's a
keeps
real
up with
linchpin.
topics is amazing.
I
That's
know.
Yeah.
I agree.
The man can multitask like anybody I've ever seen. It's
Mhm.
amazing at the things he can do. And if you want to talk about, not Neto being able to join us here.
There he is.
There he
There
is.
he is.
Oh, he's there. You have him.
Yeah.
I do. So when he
Aw.
can't be with us, I have not Neto to be able to join. So
That's funny. We'll
yeah,
tag him.
but
He's
we're
doing
trying.
I know.
We're trying.
Fun.
This is Big Weave.
I wore
Yeah,
the
you
exact
can all
outfit last
try. You can all try. The original's the original. You're not
And
gonna
that
get close.
he gave, we were talking about that, and when Funko came out with Pop Yourself, he and I happened to be on the phone, and I said, I think I want to. And he's like, Jen, that's a great idea. And that's one thing about, he was the one that showed me Funko came out with it. But I said, ooh, what if I make one for Joe Way? And what if I make one for George Chaco? Because we were on our way to the ETC event. And that's one thing about him is even though he gives you whether you think it's an idea or not, and if you expand on from what he said, he
generous.
helps you.
Yeah.
He's generous.
Hugely
he doesn't
generous. Yeah.
take the credit for it, even though I give him the credit for things.
Yeah.
And just to be able to listen to the wisdom that he's got.
There's no ego. Yeah.
No, there's not. And when you talk about that,
and that's rare in our industry.
It's very rare. It's very rare. I tell him all the time he needs to capitalize a little bit more on some things. And he's like, I'm like, but Chris, nobody's doing what you're doing.
He is absolutely the king of paying it forward. He really is.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So
like, I will say, like when we first brought the AV life back, and it was that Infocom when they set up the first recording booth, he gave a ring to me and was like, you want time? Like, and I was like, yeah. It's like he, without even I think I was he messaged me, I think, before he actually released the list, because he wanted to he was making sure he was looking out for us.
Oh, he said that to you as well?
Oh, so that's what oh, I see.
Right, let me just call him.
Yeah, I was like, hey Chris. I was like,
Mhm.
No, but
Yeah,
like
he's great.
that's just speaking to the like just it's and I'm proud to say he's from Jersey. That he has just like I'm proud. I still claim James over
Via
here.
Portugal, right? He's still nearer to the UK as far as I'm concerned. Right, we're in
Well,
the same time zone when he's in Portugal, so
yes.
true. We could share him. That's
we'll
okay.
share.
Yeah. I don't
Mhm.
with Chris, he's as everyone mentions, very humble, does a lot. And I don't think he fully realizes the impact he has on people. I mean,
Mm-mm.
I know I've said this to him. I said this publicly. If it wasn't for him and AV tweets and AV and AM, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing right now.
Same.
Like,
Yeah.
my career is taken off because of that. And now, yes, I did put the work in too, but he opened the door as well as some other people like Joe Way and stuff. Those folks who are opening a door and not closing it behind them is what is driving the younger crowd and the younger generation. And we need more folks like Chris.
Yeah.
You need
Yeah,
more
and working with him is great. To be able to call him a colleague is amazing. So yeah, I am very thankful for him also. That's a great one.
I was thinking, to call someone humble in this industry really says something about the person. Meaning, that's a very genuine quality, and find it in someone really means something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's just always so encouraging of absolutely everybody and always has time for people, which is
He's gonna love
phenomenal.
this show.
Yeah, he is.
It's
He
the Chris
deserves
night
I'm
out.
gonna-
I hope his
I'm-
ears are burning because he said to me, I'm
I-
getting an early night. He's doing jury service from tomorrow. So,
Yeah, I
Mhm.
saw
so
that.
he's I'm gonna get an early night. I hope his ears are burning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, once
Well,
this episode drops, he'll definitely get a tag.
He'll
in it,
definitely
so.
will, for sure.
Well, as I look at this crowd, I think of what Tammy has done for the Avixa Women's Council, and I think, I mean, how many short years ago would it have been that there would have been this many women on a panel discussion like this, or on a podcast like this? And it's funny because I was just having this conversation with my husband about last week, and I said I have so much fun with the people that I've met, and I met them on AV Tweets, or I met them on the happy hours that Chris started, or I've met them at women's council events. And I'm thinking, it used to just be me and this big band of brothers that I had, right? Now you look around and it's like, wait a minute, there's the Jen and I of the world there having fun right along with everybody. And
Yeah.
that's a tribute to what Tammy's doing on the Avixa Women's Council. So thank you. I'm thankful for that too. I'm counting and I'm thinking, we're missing Murphy and we're missing Nancy. You guys
Yep.
would totally
Hey,
be
we're-
minority,
Yeah,
right?
we're outnumbering you guys.
Right.
Mm.
Yeah. nothing
Where you
happened.
should be.
Well, you are outnumbered.
Yeah, exactly.
4
Well,
to
yeah, we
1.
are actually even
Yeah.
right now. Yeah, 4-3. We
Yeah.
are.
4 to
Yeah.
2.
Yep. So thank you for
And this.
all you do for this industry and Avixa.
Yep.
Yeah, the Avixa Women's Council has definitely become a passion of mine to get more women, involved in AV, and starting at younger ages to help see them get a path to AV. It's really been a joy to see that start to come to fruition. We have a long ways to go, but it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, we're
For
getting there
sure.
slowly, but we're getting there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So, and you know what though? I mean, if you think about it, like in the course of the last couple of years, like there's really been I think there's been a big upswing comparatively. So from I would say a couple of years, I'll say a few years. It's because I know even back when Corey was running the show, like we had Kim, we had Renee, we had Maura for a while there. If you remember her from Tier PM. And but I mean, we did bring in guests, and Corey, I feel like Corey was always like towards the forefront for that as well. And we kind of talked about this a little bit during the week, like with some tweets that were going through. I'm thankful for Corey in the first place. And I know I've said this before here, but it's something I don't ever want to like stop. It's one of those things like he's still with us, folks, but I don't get to talk to him as much. But I think that's something that needs to be done, is that you always need to talk about somebody to maintain that legacy for them. And I don't want to ever forget that he's the reason that this podcast exists, that we are 264 episodes in.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So, I'm a small piece of that, but it's all thanks to him. So,
You
and
carried that on.
his
That's-
legacy as in the bigger AV community as well. That, maybe there are some who are forgotten, but then every time that his name gets brought up in a tweet or something like that, it sparks a memory, and there's things. So I don't think he's been forgotten out there. So it's just,
Well, let me tell
there's
you, Tim, last week was the first time I had seen Joe Whitaker at the
Mhm.
event. I hadn't even heard his name or thought about it in a long time. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, this takes me back to the Corey and the AV Roadhouse days and the trouble we
Mhm.
would get in. And oh my gosh, it was like, oh my gosh, it was a lifetime ago. But we
Mhm.
talked about Corey and had a moment chatting about him and all that. So, and Kaleo, he was back in those days too. So, God, feels like forever ago. Pretty hard.
It
We're
was
all
definitely, it was good times. And Corey, I appreciate Corey because he brought me in pretty quick to the AV Life podcast, and I was just getting to be known in the industry, and so for him to just be like, "Hey, you got a good personality. You want to be on the show?" Like, I was just a guest, I guess.
yeah.
Well, that's basically how Murphy.
Long
That's how.
before your tweet storm status.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for
Tweetstorm
your
didn't
tweet
happen
storm.
yet. It wasn't till Tweetstorm
Yeah.
didn't happen yet. Corey brought me on pre-Tweetstorm.
Yep.
Yeah. And Murphy was like that. That's how Murphy got brought into the show, was because of Corey, and because like he had met up with her like in a, like, I guess on Twitter or something like that, and then he brought her to me, and I was like, yeah, let's do it, like, and then so that's, he was able to see that in people. And I mean, at this point, I'm sure everyone's heard my story with Gina Sansevero, and Corey asked her who she thought could come on, and I came on, and then the rest was history from there. I would have never.
Here we
So
are.
really, it's all Gina's fault that I'm here. So if anybody wants to complain to Gina about it. But yeah, and I same thing, Kaleo. Like, I was early in my career at Rutgers, and like I had been at a university prior, but it was a smaller university, and I didn't have like the connections or anything like that, and I wasn't as networked. And at Rutgers, I was just starting to kind of get my feet wet in that respect, and then I came on the AV Life, and that was that from there.
We're dropping a lot of solid names like Gina and Chris and Corey. For me, I'm thankful for this industry. I know it's not perfect, but to me, this is I've always wanted, growing up watching Cheers, that little bar in Boston. I've always wanted
Mhm.
that. And so it's really cool to me that this industry is like that. And almost anywhere I go, I can run into one of you guys, hang out, and I feel safe. Like I'm not trying to worry about somebody overstepping or trying to put me down. For me personally, that's what I'm thankful for this industry is being able to hang out with all of you guys. And I feel like Cheers, like walk in and Norm or Cleo.
That's perfect.
And
That's
it's so I've never thought about it that way, but I say it's like old home week when I go places, because I moved to South Florida, and I was I worked for a AV integrator for years, and then I went and worked for the manufacturer, and so being out of the reseller world and working for a manufacturer for 5 years, I didn't travel a lot. So when I now go to events like, being in St. Louis last week or being at any of the resellers and integrators sales meetings, it's like old home week. You see somebody that somebody that I haven't seen. It's hug, hug, kiss, kiss. You're able to talk about it. And it's so funny because I'll see people that remember me when I was pregnant with my son that I haven't seen. They're like, oh my God, how old's your son now? And oh my gosh, I can't believe it's been that long. So it is definitely family feeling, which is what I absolutely love. Because when you don't feel, like you said, safe, or walk into a room and you don't know anybody, it's that's uncomfortable, but you don't get that in this industry. And like I say to everybody, once you get in, you're sucked in. So don't ever burn a bridge with somebody, because you never know where you're going to be.
Oh, I
I think
know.
that-
Totally.
That
You
is
know,
it.
you just bounce around. Everybody just bounces around. And so, you know,
Yeah,
you
and you
don't
just
say anything
embrace
bad about the
whoever, right?
competitor. Everybody has a place. Everybody's trying to do a job and has family that they're trying to take care of. And you never know who's going to be able to be that reference, or call you up and say, you know, we've got the job, or, you know, we're here to support, or whatever. So it's an amazing community to be a part of. And so I'm thankful to be able to have 16 plus years in this industry.
That is the first piece of advice I give any young person, is don't burn a bridge in this industry, because you never know if they're going to end up being your boss, or you're good, or they're going to work under you. You want to have it very, you don't want to cause any problems. So it's the first piece of advice I always give everyone, is don't burn a bridge.
That's what I try and say too.
So what I wanted to say, I'm thankful, kind of going off what Kaleo was saying, how we've become safe and stuff, but I'm gonna whip that in notion is because of that, we have members of our community who are tackling tough topics, like Iffat and Tammy with mental health and Britt with brave space. Like it, having those discussions are very important in general, not even just for AV, but in general. And I think we didn't have the support and the closeness and the comfortability. Folks like Tammy and Britt, and if it couldn't come out and give the vital information to give out.
Right.
Oh, I don't know, James. I don't care if anybody likes me anymore. I'm going to say it anyway.
It's not about being liked. It's about having this space to come out with that topic.
It is.
Yeah.
I am really grateful. I'm grateful to my boss that lots of you will know, Jason, or he gets called JP on Twitter because that's his, or X, or whatever we're calling it these days, because that's his handle. Because he trusted me to take on the AV Jam and roll it into something else, and that's where what if was born. But I do know that with his backing, he also knows that I'm not going to do anything too stupid with it, but I also know that I don't have to worry about my day job. And that's a big thing, that sometimes that there are topics that you have to tackle, that I feel I have to tackle, because nobody else wants to talk about it. Right. And the reason, and people, I have so many off the record conversations with people. My inbox is always full of messages from people saying, please don't say that I told you this, but this is what's going on in my organization. And it's heartbreaking, absolutely heartbreaking, because they don't feel that they're in environments where they can speak up for fear of retribution, where their companies are saying, that's not our problem. And also in some cases, they don't want their dirty laundry to be exposed, right? So I am very grateful for the support and the community, and I am also always grateful for the people who can't openly support my posts, who can't attach a comment or can't attach a like to it, because there will be repercussions for them where they work. So it will change. It will change. I really do feel we've seen a lot of change in the last few years, just by the amount and the volume of not just conversations, but the things I get invited to speak at events, and where people are actually, even if I'm not there, where people are telling me that they've put it on the agenda for their conversations, for their organizations. I think organizations are beginning to realize that it does have a direct positive impact on your bottom line if you are taking care of your people and
Oh,
you are and you demonstrate a strong ethical moral code. But yeah, we have got a long way to go. I mean, cat amongst the pigeons, I am part of the Women's Council in the UK, and we are quite an active branch under Tammy's reign across the water. But we're almost having to deal with this a kind of different culture, and that's important to recognize as well, that if you look at the size of the United States, you've got so many cultures across each state that you're having to negotiate and having to cater for. In some ways, I think we have it a little bit easier because we are just this tiny island. I mean, we're smaller than most of your states. So it's a big task for the US. It's a huge task because every state has its own constitution and its own microclimates. So how you tackle that is it's a huge job.
Very true.
Very, very true.
And it doesn't always translate to the UK and vice versa.
Well, James says it quite often on Twitter, but if ever anybody needs an out or somebody to message or talk to because they can't publicly do it, comment to yours or something that they see that they're uncomfortable with, I have zero qualms about ever taking a message or a call to help my fellow friends out. So my DMs are always open. I think that's what James says. My DMs are open.
Yeah.
If you need
Always
us
open.
on the AV Life as well. So
in all fairness, just to add to that, for anybody who's listening, it is actually true, because that's what I love about it, is I can hit up just about anybody else. You know, on this podcast alone, I can ping any of you guys, text, DMs, emails, whatever it might be. You know, and it could be for work, it could be for personal, and that's what I love about it. And so yeah. It's
I'll always keep your $10 story safe. Sorry, 10 euros. 10 euros. It was Barcelona.
That's definitely quite a story, yes.
Oh, but can I just say, though, on a completely different note, I am thankful that I got to meet Kaleo last week because we had not met in person. And can I just say, he has got some body roll dance moves.
That was my one and only move. Sharatha's tearing it up. That's the only move I got.
Sharatha's won competitions though, right? So
it was total AV after dark dance party. It was.
I know I'm gonna have to have a couple of posts on LinkedIn because you can only put so many pictures on. I've got like a whole camera roll full of pictures. It was so fun.
Oh yeah. But that's the thing, like you can go from having, you know, in a competitive type nature, if you want to think about it that way, because there's different manufacturers, you're there with your integrator and everybody's doing their thing. But once that's kind of done, everybody's always ready to have some type of a good time regardless. Just it all gets put aside and we're all human beings that just want to not worry about the day.
And I mean, you probably saw on social media that we had the AV Magazine Awards a few weeks ago. And quite embarrassingly, I made it to the red carpet video. But what I said was, it's a night to forget who you work for and just come together as colleagues and enjoy each other and celebrate each other. Because exactly, I can't remember who said it before. I think Tammy, you said it. You don't know who you're going to be. I mean, every time you open LinkedIn, someone's moving, right? You don't know who you're going to be working with. So why not just be nice to everybody and just have a good time and celebrate and be happy for each other winning awards? What is? I have no issue with applauding a competitor on winning something. It's great. It's good for the industry.
It's good for the industry.
I think of the ongoing joke is like, you don't say, hi, how are you? You're like, where are you at now?
Yeah.
Let's just stay on your
Wait,
polo shirt now,
You
right?
got a different shirt on this time, different color. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think for me, I'm just so thankful for, like, I call them my AV besties. They're being in a role like this, it's sometimes can be incredibly draining and challenging. And I think by leaning on my AV besties, it gets me through. Like, just before this call, I'm going through a major thing within the council, and it's just like I was able to like go to one of my AV besties and talk through the problem so that I'm not making any rash decisions or anything. And I just feel like without them, I wouldn't be able to sit in this role. But you were mentioning a Corey earlier. Well, I have a Corey that I'm thankful for too, and that's Corey Schaefer, because if she would not have taken me under her wing many years ago when I met her at an Avixa Women's Council meeting, I know for a fact I would not be sitting where I'm at right now. So yeah, it's her, and then Brandy Alvarado Miranda. I mean, we have become really great friends, not just AV friends, but we're friends outside of AV. Like, I married her and her husband. So it's just great to be able to have those really good friends to lean on. And I don't know, every time I go to a big show, it's like seeing everybody, oh my gosh, I can't believe we're seeing each other in person instead of through a video screen. And it's just like a homecoming every time I go to a show. Like, I'm so bummed I can't go to ISE this year. I feel like or next year, I guess is what it would be. Because it's like where I get to see all my friends. So, but I'm thankful for the relationships I've built, the friends I've acquired. My heart is so full. So.
And I wonder if that's one of the few good things that did come out of COVID, because when we were able to start traveling again, I mean, I remember when all of us from the AV life got together at InfoComm. I mean, it was a first time meeting for several of us, right, in person, because Tim and James didn't really go to InfoComm much before, and the one they went to was the one that most of us couldn't go to. And so by the time we all got together, and it just made you appreciate that relationship so much more. But then I feel the same, like even seeing Jen last week, seeing Kaleo, who I hadn't seen in a while. It just is, it's almost like that's the one thing that came out of it that was like, it makes you more thankful that we're able to do that again, right? Because even though it was a short while, I mean, a year or whatever it was,
It felt like
enough.
forever.
It was long enough cooped up, right? It was long enough. So
You
in
know
turn,
what?
now I feel like there's events all the time. We're at events.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
There are.
So many regional
But
events.
I think the benefit, if we hadn't had that pause, we wouldn't have built those bonds, because we had nothing else to do. And saying to your family, right, I'm off for happy hour, or I'm off for whatever, just to catch up, or for those of us who played after hours, we had, where else were we going to go, right? That was that was the extent of our social life. So those bonds became really strong really quickly.
Right.
And it was such a shared experience. It was nice to know that people all over the world were feeling the same way.
Right.
Because it wasn't just, and you didn't feel like you were the only person going through
It was a lifeline.
right?
Yeah, it was a lifeline.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
so.
we rewarded each other by giving everyone COVID the first InfoComm. Yeah.
Yeah.
I missed you.
I came back without it.
I did.
Half of our plane had it.
I,
So me, Jason, and Kevin, all three of us didn't get it, but half of our plane were all positive.
Yeah.
If not
the
more.
same thing for me. I
We
went
were
out to dinner
fine.
with all the HETMA folks, and I was at a corner with Mike Peterson, Josh Kaufman, and so a couple other people, and they all got it. I didn't.
So the night before our flight, me and Kevin were sat in a little booth thing with Bill, your Bill, Jennifer, Dan O'Donnell,
Yep.
Chris, and we're all eating. We're sharing the pudding. Like, we're like, oh, should we get a
Really?
couple of desserts and share?
Yeah.
They all got COVID. They were
Right.
really bad. Me and Kevin were like, hey, we're fine. Sorry.
And I was,
Oh.
I didn't get it either. I was there and in between jobs at the time before I'd
Mhm.
started working for Staren. So I went out there looking, you know, to see what was going on in the industry. And so I was talking to a lot of people and handshaking and all that stuff. I came back,
Get it? Yeah.
did not get, I got it I came back from San Antonio. And again, I was the only one of the group of Starenites that were there with me at an education show in Texas. And I was the only one. I was so mad too when I came back. I'm like, it feels like a cold. I was,
Mm.
I didn't get it just because 3 weeks prior I was at NAB and that's where I got it. So
Mm.
you were
but
good.
You were
Yeah,
still.
you were riding the
Yeah.
antibodies. Yeah.
yeah, definitely.
So, but yeah, I agree. I think there was something about that period of time that allowed us to really make those connections. And I've said this, I feel like I've said this a lot during this episode, but I see it in the younger kids too. My son is going through the same thing with his friends. Like, they all learned to coexist with each other, like we're doing this podcast right now
Yeah.
through a screen. But now they crave those social interactions so much that, like, any opportunity that they can hang out with each other, they do. And they know they've set up their Facebook messenger groups, and they are messaging each other and calling each other. Like, and that's part of the reason I was running late, is my son was on they only have a half day tomorrow. So he was on with one of his buddies. And I'm like, we need to wrap this up. You're going to see him in like 12 hours.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Don't forget, you're in person.
Yeah.
I've turned into mom Uber. He says to me now, Mom, this is where we're going. I'm like, do you not understand? I still have things that I need to do. But it is, he's on his PlayStation. He talks, you know, they play their video games or whatever, but they're now making their plans for the next day, whether it's I have to take him to the park, or they're going to play basketball, or they're going fishing, or they're doing, and so it is good that they are getting that social interaction, because, you know, when he was, you know, 5th grade, 4th grade, when that happened, and I was so nervous that it was going to completely change him, but it's actually kind of opened him up a little bit, which I think is great.
I appreciated the pause. It was, I remember as I was getting into the manufacturing world pre-pandemic, everybody was talking about, you know, I traveled here, I gotta go plane there. It's like, all right, cool. And it just seems so busy. And then after the pandemic, now it's more personal, where I got to see Renee. I got to see, you know, so like, we're not talking about where we traveled anymore, but like, I got to see so-and-so.
Yeah.
And I think that pause, while it sucked, it definitely made, you know, a lot of us appreciate each other, you know.
Absolutely.
And I do now plan where I want to go based on who the others are going to. Probably not the best thing to say, but it does change that, because if you know you're going to go and see people that you haven't seen, it just makes going to that event so much better.
Yeah.
100%.
I liken it to this. Oh, sorry.
No, go ahead, Tim. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Many years ago, I worked at Starbucks, and the shift that I worked was great depending on who I worked with. So, like, if it was a great crew, it was like I wasn't working. But when it was not a great crew, it was like a prison sentence.
Yeah.
So I completely understand, like, the places that I go and the people I interact with are definitely like, oh, I want to go to that event, because, like, everyone's going to DSC. I want to go so bad just because all my friends are going, you know, and so I can interact with them and see them. Sometimes it's funny that I have to travel 3,000 miles to go see my friends that live here, because we can't get together here in Los Angeles, but we'll go to, you know, our Infocom in Florida, and it's like, how come I had to travel 3,000 miles to see you?
It's usually how it goes.
Welcome to the world of James and I from like 3 years ago. It's like we had to go to Infocom in Orlando to meet for the first time. Like, it was, and he was 2 hours away from me. It's like, yeah.
And you probably see him now more than since he's across the country than he did when he was 2 hours.
Yeah, I was saying yeah.
I had
Mhm.
meetings at Infocom with people that I still haven't seen that are AV Brits. But we met the last time. In fact, I'm just thinking the last time we sat down had a discussion was at Orlando. So yeah,
Funny
it's
world.
It is
Mhm.
funny but small.
aligning diaries.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, before I wrap this up, any last thankfuls before we close out for tonight?
Well, we are
Well,
thankful for you, Tim, as our
Oh.
Yes.
as our
Definitely.
Stop.
leader of the AV life and getting great people on here and great discussions. And I look forward to my recordings with you guys. I always hate it. Like if I'm out to dinner or out at a show or something, like, oh, I'm going to miss my recording. It just makes me so irritated. So I'm very thankful. I'm very happy that we do this. And
That was
Well, I couldn't do this without you and the crew, Renee. Like this is, there's only so much rambling I could do by myself. So, I get tired of listening to myself after a while. So, and this group here is proof of the incredible connections that we all have, and that, the AV family that we were, talking about,
Yes.
this is, and I'm just thankful for that you all have taken time out of your day to, or your night or early morning,
Early morning.
Early morning.
to join us, and to, and this is, like I said, this is proof of our community, and I am thankful for that too, and I'm thankful for all of our listeners and viewers out there. We're getting things back up and running with the website, so keep an eye out now. I figured out how to, we changed the back end stuff, and I figured out how to fix it, so well, things will be coming out through there. But always follow and subscribe on your favorite podcast service. Follow and subscribe on YouTube. It'll always be there. And I have to admit, I just subscribed to What If from the AV Life account because I realized I hadn't followed from that account. So you have another subscriber as of today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
So and then what was the other thing? Oh, I lost it. Oh well, it's all right. It'll come back to me at some other point. So, and I'm sure I'll get off the recording. I'll be like, oh, that's the thing. But anyway, have a very happy Thanksgiving, or hope it was
And
a happy
you all.
Thanksgiving to everybody. Yes. And we were thankful for you, our listeners. We'll see you when we come back. Got some great episodes coming out, more guests. And if you have not received a scheduling from me, please DM and I'll send you. We're gonna be coming out with the spring edition in a little bit, so keep an eye out for that. And as I always say, until our next adventure.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.